Alright, today got a 97 Volkswagen Passat. Gonna use this adapter set from Harbor Freight to change this wheel bearing. Notice, made in Canada. Don't waste your money on Chinese crap. For the ball joint. Take your ball joint out. Move the front axle.
The outside race will stay with it. You'll have to get that out. I'll show you how.
Now you come to your kit here and figure out which ones you need. Make sure you lube this with plenty of anti-seize or it'll ruin the Chinese threads. Now you want a piece that'll go through without binding. Put it in there. Put your piece on the outside. All right, now we're ready to pull it out. Most of the way out. Now just use your hammer and something to get the rest of the way. I have to take this turn wheel off, but I tend to miss with my hammer, so take my impact driver and a number 3 bit. And take the screws out. You don't need to grind all the way through, because you might damage this surface. Just enough to make this weaker, so when you heat it up, it pops off. It's loose. I'm going to probably have to clean up the edge right there if you use a chisel to pop it off, because I do. Alright, there's your hub with no inner or outer race on it. Make sure you put this back on before you start pressing this back into the hub, or you'll be hating yourself because you'll have to buy a new bearing. Once you have these back in, go ahead and I like to whack them once with the impact driver, but since it's resting on this, I'm not going to hit it too hard. Alright, now you're ready to press this piece of shit back in. Alright, before you push the bearing back in, you want to take a piece of sandpaper, clean this out a bit. It'll make it a lot easier. It's a lot cleaner now. It's not perfect, but I knocked off all the chunks of whatever that might stop the new bearing from going in easily. Now take your new snap ring, one of your new snap rings. We're going to put it in this back groove here to stop the bearing at the proper spot. Got to clean that up a little. It's scratched, but the rear snap ring is in. Now take some of this, put it on the inside here. That should be way too much, but it'll make it slide in without binding. Alright, now you're ready to put this in. This one has a little smaller edge on this side, so I like to put that in first. So, but I guess it doesn't really matter. All right, when you're pressing this in, you don't want to press on this because you'll push the other side out. That's bad. Well, I guess you might not, but you still don't want to press on this. Because you see that? That's plastic. You just don't want to press on it. And you might mess up this seal. Alright, you should be able to use the one you pressed out with. Just make sure that it's pressing on this outer edge. Well, that was too much. I flipped the cap over. I'm going to put it in this way. And this will be flat on the back. Now I'll put this on. And my nut. Need the washer. Outer snap rings in. It's seated all the way around. Now we're ready to push in the hub. Now for this part, you're going to want to find something to push from the other side that's this size. Otherwise you'll push bearings in halves and you'll push this side out if you're not pushing this way on it. Found the socket that fits over it without being too large or too small. So I'll pull this from this side over here and pull the hub in this way, obviously. Now you'll feel when it gets home. Now that's it. Put the shit back together and you're done. One last thing. Make sure you, before you put your wheel back on, take out your center cap so that you can fit the socket in and you torque the wheel or the axle nut while the car's on the ground so you don't have to fight it. And it needs to be, get out your big old torque wrench. It needs to be about 195. I'm gonna put it to 200 just for good measure, but that needs to be really, really tight.